Today, I'm going to give you a little insight to my life as a director of a charter school. It is very different in comparison to being a principal at a traditional public school. And this matters not only because of education and where we're at, but also it is a perfect example of leadership decisions, business decisions, organizational leadership and management and education just being the just happen to be in the industry, but how it pertains to everything if you are a leader in an organization. And this might surprise some of you on the things that I have to deal with on a regular basis. That if you are an administrator of a traditional public school, you probably would have no idea how to do it because there's always somebody else within the school district that does it for you. So this episode is going to be very unique, very different from the traditional Thinking to Think podcast. But bear with me. I promise you, you're going to have a lot of takeaways on leadership, decision making, and organization. So with that, this is Thinking to Think. Let's get started. My name is M.A. Aponte, also known as Mike A. Aponte. Welcome back. If you are new here, well, welcome to Thinking to Think. I want to start this off by giving you a real world scenario that I do regularly. Friday afternoon, payroll is coming. Parents are emailing. Staff is asking questions you don't fully have answers to yet. Next year's planning is unclear. Funding conversations are shifting. Guidance from above is either late or changing. And you're sitting there thinking, what do I protect? What actually matters right now? Because here's the truth most people don't see. Leadership is easy when the system is stable. The real test is when the system itself starts to wobble. And right now, education is one of those moments. You've got budget pressure in multiple states, planning delays in major districts, and federal level changes that could either reduce bureaucracy or create new gaps. Some people see opportunity, less red tape, more local control, faster decisions. Uh, I admittedly am one of those people. Others see risk, and I acknowledge this, as less consistency, more confusion, uneven support. And both sides have a point. But this episode is not about picking a side. I just gave you my opinion, but I didn't necessarily pick a side. It's about a harder question. And this pertains to every industry that you're in right now that you're listening to, if you're wherever you're listening. When the system is unstable, how do you think clearly anyway? Because no matter what happens at the federal level, no matter what happens in the state, no matter what your district delays for those that are in schools, students will still show up on Monday. And that's where the real leadership begins. Same if a customer, if you have a business or a client or your staff, they will still show up. So we must push on. So the mistakes mostly leaders make in chaos, and I'm going to take a deep dive in that. When things start breaking, most leaders make one critical mistake. They try to save everything. They react to every email, every complaint, every rumor, every headline, every possible future problem. And what happens? They lose clarity because chaos doesn't destroy systems by itself. Chaos destroys systems when leaders lose priorities. You start asking, what's urgent? What's loud? What's politically sensitive? What might blow up? Instead of asking, what is essential? That shift is where systems begin to collapse faster because when everything feels important, nothing gets protected properly. And in education, that's dangerous because, unlike other industries, failure doesn't just hit revenue, it hits kids. So you have to have a operator mindset. And let me tell you how I think about this. And this is not a theory, this is an operator reality. I don't run a school based on what I hope happens. I run it based on what I can control. Because I've learned something simple. You cannot build your system on uncertainty. You cannot budget based on political promises, delayed decisions, potential grants, or maybe funding. You build on enrollment, attendance, staffing, scheduling, instruction, and cash flow. Everything else, it's a bonus. If federal support comes through, great. If the state adds opportunity, great. If funding expands, great. But that is not the foundation because the foundation has to survive whether help shows up or not. That is the mindset shift most people never make. They build around what if this works out? Strong leaders build around what if it doesn't? That's how you create stability in unstable systems. And here's why systems actually break and something people misunderstand. Systems don't usually collapse all at once. They erode. And they erode through small failures, delayed calendar, unclear communication, inconsistent expectations, financial pressure, shifting policies, or slow decision making. Each one feels manageable, but together they create instability, and instability spreads. Families feel it, staff feels it, students feel it. And here's the dangerous part: people adapt to dysfunction faster than they fix it, they normalize it. This is just how it is now. We'll figure it out. It'll get better. Maybe, but maybe not. And that's why leadership matters most in these moments because someone has to step in and say, no, these are the things that still have to work. And staff members that get used to the normalization of instability, unfortunately, as a leader, you have to make hard decisions that if the mindset doesn't change and you're trying to change the culture, thereby changing the system, they may not be part of that change, and you have to decide on that. So, what do you protect first? That's the core question. When everything is unstable, what do you protect first? So here's my framework. And believe me when I say I have walked into chaos in the past in leadership positions, and I've used this. One, safety and stability. If students don't feel it, if they don't feel it safe physically or emotionally, everything else weakens. Two, time to learn. You cannot fix education by reducing access to education. Time matters. Three, clear communication. Confusion multiplies chaos. Clarity reduces it. Even bad news is better than unclear news. Four, instructional core. Not every program survives pressure equally, but teaching and learning must. Five, trust. Trust is not soft. Trust is infrastructure. Once it breaks, everything becomes harder: discipline, communication, performance, morale. So, a simple test: ask yourself, what must still work next Tuesday, no matter what? That answer tells you the real priorities. So, elephant in the room for all the educators that are listening. For those of you that don't know, you're about to get some inside baseball. The federal versus local reality. And it's a crazy balance. And that's a bigger system. And I'm going to discuss it without bias. So here's the real debate happening currently in education in the United States. And to be clear, I have a lot of people in Europe and Africa and South America listening. The case for reducing federal control: less bureaucracy, faster decision making, more local flexibility, better alignment with community needs. That's a strong argument. The case for maintaining federal structure is consistency across states, protection for vulnerable populations, stable funding pipelines, shared expectations. Also, a strong argument. Both sides are right about something, and both sides underestimate something else. And here's the truth: changing the system doesn't remove pressure, it redistributes it. When power shifts, someone gains flexibility, someone loses support, and someone has to absorb the difference. It's a trade off. And that someone is often the local leader, which brings us back to reality. No matter who controls the system, you still have to run your building. And that I'm talking directly to every single principal in a charter school across the United States and those that are in a similar type of school across the world. You still have to run the building. So I'm going to go to one of my frameworks, Clear. If you don't know, uh, I have a whole different types of frameworks for different leadership strategies in my Substack. Highly recommend you sign up, but I'm going to break it down for you regarding this context, within this context, excuse me. Clear under pressure. C, cut the noise. Not everything deserves your attention. Delegate it if you have to. L, lock onto core functions. What absolutely has to work. E, explain reality plainly. No fluff, no confusion. That's hard for some. And in some cases, even I struggle with this when I'm communicating to some staff members who I know, excuse me, that might be more sensitive than others. A, act in order, not emotion. Don't let panic choose your priorities. And R, repeat the mission. Remind people why they're here. This is what clear, actually looks like. Not confidence, not certainty, structure under stress. So here's the hidden danger: borrowed chaos. And this is something most leaders miss. When systems above you are chaotic, you start copying that chaos. The state is reactive, district becomes reactive, district is unclear, school becomes unclear, school is tense, classroom becomes tense. That's how collapse spreads. So your job is not just to survive chaos, it's to interpret it. You create structure, clarity, consistency, and stability. When everything around you isn't the way it's supposed to, that's when you need to have these things. And that's leadership. So let's bring it back. When your operating system is unstable, what do you do to protect first? Do you protect optics, comfort, politics? Or do you protect students, time, clarity, instruction, trust? Because that choice defines you as a leader. Here's the truth: you cannot control the system, but you can control how you operate inside it. Or how I like to tell my students, you control how you react to situations, not how other people act. Build on what is real, control what you can, treat everything else as variable. And if support comes, use it well, but never depend on it like it's a guaranteed. Because in the end, hope is not a budget strategy. This is thinking to think. And I am M.A. Aponte, also known as Mike Aponte. Stay sharp, and we'll get back to your usual scheduled lessons on critical thinking, logic, and maybe a little bit of mix of current events and analysis on the next episode. Thank you for sticking with me in this one. Have a wonderful day, guys, and stay sharp.